Welcome to Inside the Bow, ladies and gentlemen. How y'all doing? I am your host, Dave Jones. Before I get started, hit the subscribe button. We're on YouTube. We drop every week. We do all this kind of stuff all the time. Inside the Bow podcast. So today is a special episode. I'm getting ready to do a Black History Month reflection series episode. And what this is basically just reflecting on Black History Month. There's Black History Month, but at Abode, and for me, Black History Month is pretty much every day and every month. So it's not really about the month necessarily, but I do want to take time on this podcast to just like dedicate time to showcase some of the dope friends I have and dope people we have in our community, and B, talk about Black shit. Like I just want to talk just frankly about some things, and you get to be a fly on the wall for that. Like the tone of this one is not about real estate. It's about life. It's about community. It's about Blackness. It's about maybe you learn something. I know I'm definitely going to learn something today because I'm talking about something I've never done, and that is HBCUs. So today we have a guest that is, she's someone in the community. She's doing her thing. She also is, a community member. She's an activist. She's a mother. She's a empty nester now. We just talked about that. We're laughing about all of that. I just think that you're going to get a lot out of today's guest. But before I get to today's guest, I do want to say this. Make sure that you hit up the podcast. It's on streaming, so on Apple or Spotify or whatever, and go check out like the old Black History Month Reflection Series podcast. I've been doing this since we've opened, and there's some super dope conversations. I actually just brought up another one with Lonnie Arnold the other day. I think I'm gonna bring that back up and repurpose it or something, maybe this week, but that one was a dope one. Barry Johnson. I actually got Barry Johnson coming back. We're gonna double up. We're gonna re-up, and we're gonna circle the block on that conversation because a lot has happened since we last talked. We got my man, my cousin Jay Frage. And a lot's changed since all these. Kev, shout out to Kev, Kid Sensation, Cola, shout out to you, Corey, Strozier, Renelda, Justina, Ivan, Tafana, Jaquanda. I've had so many dope people on here, and there's more. There's probably people I'm missing. Oh, Pearls is really powerful. Logic, I've had Logic on here. So, I mean, I've been really fortunate and blessed, and you've been fortunate and blessed to have these conversations just at your disposal. But all of these people are dope people in our community doing big things, and today is no different. So without further ado, I'm gonna stop y'all from waiting because I know she got to get somewhere. She's probably like, this dude is talking way too much. Tanisha Jumper, ladies and gentlemen, how you doing, Tanisha?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Dave.
Yeah, that was a long-winded intro, and I kind of got off tangent there, but
That's
I get excited
right.
about
That's all right.
Yeah, I like this conversation. So today we're talking about HBCUs, but first, tell me what's up. How you doing? It's a rainy Saturday afternoon. What's going on with you?
It's good. I needed it. I needed to stay in the house. I needed to chill out and enjoy my empty nest. Lit some candles, and I'm just chilling and having a great day. Got to watch a little bit of Malcolm X this morning. I'm
Oh,
good.
you watched Malcolm X, like the movie, like the Spike Lee movie?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is what I do in my free time.
Yeah, you was in the mood, and that. All right, let's be real. Like Denzel not getting a Grammy, or not a Grammy, but an Emmy for that, or Oscar. I'm sorry.
Oscar.
I did the whole thing.
He could have got all of it for that movie. That movie is the best. The best.
But then he got it for Training Day. I feel like that was a makeup.
Yeah.
Because he was better in X for me. I mean, he was dope in Training Day too. Denzel's not bad in anything, but like,
yeah,
well, maybe a couple joints.
It was a weird choice in my opinion to give it that for that character versus the character him playing Malcolm X. It was a weird choice, but the movie's great. I love it. I never get tired of watching it. It's in my. If it's on when I turn the TV on, that's what I'm watching.
Yeah.
List. So.
Any Spike Lee joint for me personally. I grew up on Spike Lee joints, so I didn't grow up on Tyler Perry joints. I grew up on Spike Lee joints. It's a whole different
it's a difference.
Yeah, it's a whole different energy, you know. Like, and I'm not even gonna be, I'm not hating on Tyler Perry joints at all. Like, he's done a
Right.
lot for black people and black people in film, and I mean, he had to get in a dress to do it, but that's not a shot. I mean, is it though?
Maybe just a BB gun, like not
Yeah,
a lethal.
it's a small one. It's a small shot. I'm not. I'll hold that. I'll say it with my chest. Yeah, man, you had to get in a dress to get. I mean, but I'm not mad either though, because what he did, and when people see what he did for his studio and the first black major studio and all that, like, shout out to Tyler Perry, man.
Yeah,
He's done a lot of big things for black people in film and cinema.
Yeah.
But like, so yeah, it's a different energy. And we were talking about X. I have X like queued up in the thing. That's funny that you say that because I started watching it the other day. And you know how after he got the conch and he's in the chair and he was burning up and he was like, oh, this is cool, and then all of a sudden he starts going, hey, yo, when we get the water, and then he comes out and they start walking, and then Spike Lee teaches him how to walk down the street.
Yep.
Yeah.
Best.
That's the
the best.
that's the movie right there. So Denzel was really good in that, but
Yeah.
So I mean, I think so we're talking about HBCUs today. I want to just get straight to it, like, and tell us about how you got to an HBCU.
Okay.
And actually, what is an HBCU?
All right.
For people that are listening that don't know what an HBCU is.
So HBCU is a historically black college or university. There's about 500 of them. There's only one recognized one on the West Coast, which is Compton Community College. And so let me rewind back. So I grew up in Steilacoom. I started school in Clover Park because my mom was a teacher in Clover Park School District. So went to Clover Park up till 5th grade, and then 6th grade I came to my home school, which is in Steilacoom. And so probably about 3rd grade or so, I got kind of started getting pulled out of the class for like gifted and talented. That's what they called it back then. And so by the time I got to like high school, I really didn't have any classes with any of my friends. There was only 2 other black kids that were ever in any of my AP or advanced classes. And there was a girl in my class, Erica, who me and her very cool, but like we were kind of like the 2 chosen black girls. It's still so it's like if it was soft and like girly, that was Erica. They were gonna ask Erica like choir, cheer, dance team, all that stuff. If it was a little bit rough, a little bit aggressive, a little bit, you know what I mean? Then you come get Tanisha, right?
Oh, that's you?
So basketball, band, debate, anything like that, it was going to be me. And so, and that pretty much was how it was until we got to our senior year. I think Erica wanted to be she wanted to go for Daffodil Princess. And, I was not interested in anything like that. I was not interested in dresses and makeup, none of that stuff. But then I got approached and was like, hey, we need someone to run for the Afro Princess, which I was like, what? But my mom is girly, like hella girly. And so she was like, oh, we could get you a dress. Like, she was just so happy that I was like, all right, it's fine. So I do the Afro pageant, and in '92 I do the Afro pageant.
Okay.
And I got beat by Crystal Aiken, which is a legitimate person to get beat by. I feel very okay with the fact that Crystal Aiken she beat me. But so I won for Steilacoom, and then I participated in the one in Tacoma, which then exposed me to just a little bit of a glimpse of, Tacoma and black life in Tacoma. But I really had been neither one of my parents are from Washington. My dad's from Florida. My mom's from Southern California. They're both transplants here. And so I don't have like a big, family or anything like that. And I think just being in a school where I think there was 10, maybe 10, if I'm stretching, black kids in my class at Steilacoom, I was really confused about like, am I really the smartest, or is it just like I'm the acceptable black kid? Am I really the best in the band, or it's just like you have to have a black girl here, and I'm one of the ones you could pick. You know what I mean? And so I just had these questions, and around the same time, Different World is like, popping, and I'm like, wait, there's a place where I can go where I don't have. Like, Washington's a weird place to grow up as a black kid, right? It's like, it has these things where it's like, you're either, you have to, it's like they have binaries for you. You're either like a
100%.
good, wannabe white passing black person, or you're hood. And it's like, there's no room for anything in the middle.
Yeah.
And even though that's not actually the true experience of black people here, it's what all the pressures around you make you feel like you have to be one or the other.
Yep.
And so if you're like an eclectic nerdy, but you like sports, but you love hip hop, like I don't fit in any of those boxes, right? And so and then we add that dynamics of like dating and everybody saying you're cute, but you never have a boyfriend. Well, I had one boy. I had one boyfriend that we spun the block lots of times because he was the only one that didn't. And then I'm gonna be honest, like didn't date white women.
Yeah.
But every cool, sporty black guy that I was cool with from the beginning of time, they all dated white girls, and I grew up in a household. My parents were pretty adamant that like if you can't use your comb, don't bring him here. So I that wasn't never an option that I thought was a real option for me.
Yeah.
And so like dating was weird and school was weird, and it just was like, this is not my place, and I just want to get away. So during the Afro pageant, I had learned about like where the HBCUs were. Also had a little bit of family drama that I was like, I could be far away from this. It'd be okay if I was far away. Found out that all the HBCUs, like the closest ones, were like Oklahoma and Texas, which I was like, I'm not. I have a dad who's from Florida, so my understanding of the South is like, that's not a place I want to go. And my mom's a West Coast, Black Panther affiliated, like, so I was just like, okay, I don't know where to go. Started looking into it. Actually, one of the funny things about the pageant is I was assigned a Queen Mother as like the woman who would like help all the girls, and then there was a king whatever who helped all the guys. Mine happened to be Victoria Woodard's.
Oh, I didn't know y'all went back like that.
Very young Victoria Woodard's who like taught me how to walk in heels and could tell me things that my mom couldn't tell me. So anyways, she had a mentor who went to Wilberforce. So I'm already looking for these schools, and she said, hey, have you ever thought about Wilberforce? It's connected to the AME church, and I grew up Catholic, so that didn't really mean a whole lot to me, but I was like, yeah, well, I'll apply. I'm applying to all of them. I applied to all of them. But Wilberforce wrote back first, and they offered me a scholarship because I was in the pageant that was affiliated with the AME church.
Okay.
And so they said yes, and I said yes because I didn't care. I just wanted to get. By the time I was in, there was a couple experiences that happened at the end of high school that I was like, I gotta go. There was a situation where the friends I had been friends with since 6th grade, there was like a altercation between one of my friends and this group of black girls that I wasn't really cool with, but I was cool with them, but I didn't like hang out with them. And she had an interaction with them, and she basically said that, like, something to the effect of like, those black bitches, and I was like, whoa, what are we talking about right now? Hey. And I got oh, not you, Tanisha, you're not like them. And I think the thing about that moment was I cognitively knew that was not the first time that was said to me, but it was definitely the first time that I was like, what the fuck does that mean? What does that mean? No, I am just like them. And so I basically left my entire friend group because the rest of my friend group was like, "Oh, Tanisha, calm down. She didn't mean it like that." You know, it was nobody was like holding her accountable.
We ain't doing that.
Exactly. So I went back to my guys because I always have had more guy friends than female friends, and so I sat at the table with the guys for probably a month, and one of the girls, one of the black girls, she walked over and she said, "You don't have to sit with them if you want to. You can come sit with me." And it was my first understanding that, like, while there's lots of division in the black community, there is a solidarity that's underlining it always. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Right.
and this group of girls that I wasn't friends with them. They just didn't play sports and they weren't in any of my classes, so I didn't have an opportunity to get to know them.
Yeah.
They took me in, and that's who I hung out with the rest of my senior year. And that just kind of confirmed to me that, like, yeah,
you're on the right path.
I need to go somewhere else. So
Yeah.
I got accepted to Wilberforce. They gave me a little bit of money, and Wilberforce is the first privately owned historically black college in the United States.
Oh, really?
So yes.
Okay.
So most HBCUs, like I think Coppin is like the first HBCU. They were set up by white people for black people.
Got it.
Wilberforce was owned and started by the AME Church and a group of black people. It's named after William Wilberforce, who was a English abolitionist. And so basically Quakers and AME got together and built a school for black people.
Okay. And so Wilbur, that's Wilbur Forrest.
Yep, Force.
Okay.
Like,
Force.
may the force be with you. Yep.
Okay, Wilbur Forrest.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, because I'd never heard of that school.
Yeah, so
I mean, I've heard of plenty of HBCUs, but not that one.
Yeah, so it was established in 1856 in the middle of Ohio, in Wilberforce, Ohio. And it was basically the end of the Underground Railroad. So, so this school, when it started, was where basically people who used to own people would send their descendants there to get educated. So Wilberforce has had, like, Frederick Douglass taught at Wilberforce for a while. W.E.B. Du Bois taught at Wilberforce. Like, there's huge history there. So I go to Wilberforce. I actually rode in a car with someone that Victoria knew who was going to Kent State, which is not that far from Wilberforce. But I went to that school sight unseen. We did no visits.
Whoa. No. So where is Wilberforce at again?
In Ohio.
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 Okay, so you're going to school in Ohio from the Pacific Northwest without even going to the school.
Nope.
Okay, and it's a HBCU.
Yes.
I'm excited to hear this part of this story because based on what I just heard and what I'm about to hear, I'm interested to hear, like, what was your response when you got there. You must have been
okay. Yeah.
That must
So
be crazy.
The only college experience, campus experience I had was UPS, because my cousin went to UPS, and so I went to an event at UPS once. And I had done a couple summer programs at UW. So these are the only two college campuses I've ever been on. This is what I think college looks like. I get in a car at 17 years old, and I drive for 2.5 days to Ohio. I am literally driving through cornfields, and it's just corn on both sides. And then there's this little itty bitty sign that says Wilberforce University. And we turn, and then there's this campus that is probably the size of, like, Lincoln High School's campus. Like, it's tiny.
Really?
And I'm like, what have I done? Like,
Yes.
what have I done? I'm like, this is not. Whoa, God! I was terrified. So, you know, HBCUs 92 with not a lot of bells and whistles, right? So it's like you have to go.
Phones out there? They have the internet?
We had no phones in our rooms. We had phones in the hallways.
Yeah. Okay. Which for those that are listening, that's normal. That's normal back then, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Yes, 1992. So there's no cell phones.
There's no cell phones.
You could go to the computer lab to print your things, and you could get the internet in the computer lab, but you didn't have it in your room. And I feel old as shit saying this, but like we had like a word processor, not a computer in our room, right?
Yeah.
So, so I'm there like a day ahead of time because one of the girls, Stacey Baston, was who I rode with. So I rode with Natalie, Stacey, and then me. And Stacey actually went to Wilberforce and was about to graduate. So she was an RA, so I stayed the night in her room. It was like the night before everybody else comes, and then you go. It's like you have to stand in these stupid lines. Like stand in this line for an hour to get your keys, and then stand in this line to get your lunch, your mailbox. And so I get my keys. So I think I was in line first, and I'm looking around, and it's the first time in my entire life I've been in an environment that there's nothing but black people.
Mm-hmm.
And every worry that I had about that I was in the wrong place, like literally just dissipated in front of my eyes. Because my mom's Creole, so I grew up in a very multi-shade, multi-ethnic, multi family. So even in my family environment, everybody's not.
Yeah.
I got cousins that look like everything, right? So it's like I never have been in an environment where I'm just looking around and like, oh my God, like what is happening here, right? And so like, then you start to see like, there's so many like, you just, when you grow up here, you just don't understand the variety of blackness. Like the variety of like the accents, the clothes, the styles, the haircuts, the like it's so huge. Like here it feels like the range is like this.
Yeah.
And you leave here
I'm so glad you're saying
and you
this.
Realize the range is like this. Like you're like, oh, is that a goth black guy? Is that a skater black guy? Is that like, you know what I mean? And then I'm in college, and then there's people that people would assume are like just like hood. But they're smart as shit. Yeah. Or like the New York cats and their accent and their right, exactly black in country, East Coast and like like it's May in Ohio or August 21st in Ohio. It's hot as shit. I've never experienced
in jeans.
Hoodie, shorts, and Timberlands with some big ass socks, and I'm just like, and I'm just like, what is this? Like, so I get up there, I get up to my room, I'm unpacking my stuff, and my roommate comes in, and she's from Chicago, and I'm telling her like, oh, I'm from the West Coast, and she's like, oh, I never met nobody from the West Coast. Like, Seattle? Like, are there black people there? I'm like, yes, there's black people there, right? So news spreads pretty quickly that I'm from Seattle or, Tacoma, Washington. I say Washington, everyone's like, oh, D.C.? No, Washington State. Over by Alaska. There's a whole country between Alaska and Washington. Like, so that was like the regular jokes. Then the joke was, oh, you must have went to prom with Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Oh, wow.
Don't ever play me like that.
That's crazy. The fact that his name, I mean, at that time though, Baby Got Back was hidden. And
no, it was before Baby Got Back.
Oh, it was before Baby. So they knew about Posse on Broadway probably. Yeah, and Kid Sensation is on that song, who was on the Black History Month Reflection series anyway. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So fun. Yeah, it's so funny that you mentioned that.
So that's the only thing they knew about Washington was Sir Mix-a-Lot. They had no. I mean, they knew about like West Coast rap, like NWA's, Tupac, but they did not know anything about Washington. And I was the only person my year coming from the West Coast. So there wasn't even anybody from Cali the year I came in. It was just me. So
people were probably interested in you. They're probably like wanted to see what was up. Like you were, you were holding the crown for the whole West Coast. Your shoulders is heavy. Like you had to, damn. That's a lot of pressure.
I didn't know I had an accent.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I'm not brown skinned.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I grew up in a Creole family.
Mm-hmm.
I am one of the darkest people in my mother's family.
But over there you ain't.
But so me and my roommate, we write the letters like, okay, I'll bring the radio, you'll bring this, whatever. I was like, we'll meet in the union. I'll wear this. I'm gonna wear this. I'm brown skin. I got long hair. At that point, my hair is probably like past my shoulders. Like brown skin, long hair, da 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 da. So when she comes up to me, like I'm wearing the outfit, she said, Tanisha? Yeah. I was like, yeah, Aaron. She's like, yeah. She said, can I ask you a question? I said, yeah. She's like, why'd you say you was brown skin? I said, I am. And she literally was like, no, she's brown skinned.
Yeah.
He's brown skinned. You're light.
Yeah, you are light skinned. I get that every time I go to, when I go to Texas, that's when I know. They're like, what do you mix with? I was like, oh, I've never been asked that question up here.
Up here?
I remember, yeah.
Yeah, no, crazy. It was crazy. It was,
yeah.
So that's probably my first two lessons, right? That I have an accent, because growing up on the West Coast, I never thought I had an accent. Mm-hmm. And two, I'm light skinned.
Yeah. Man, it's such a culture shock. I feel that, because when I went to Louisiana, we went to Louisiana, New Orleans, right? It was right before Katrina.
Okay.
And we were staying in the French Quarter, and Anne was at I was in college, and she was working at the time because she was out at that time, and she was flying back and forth to wherever. And so one time she was staying at the Ritz in New Orleans, and she was like, hey, you want to come? I ditched out of my accounting class. I got a D in that class. That's what I had to take it. But I did get to go to New Orleans before Katrina hit.
Right.
And I remember, like, just going there, and one, I finally realized what the Master P movement was. Like, I felt it. I was like, okay, I get it now, because I didn't, I liked some of it, but I didn't fuck with all of it.
Right.
And I was just like, I don't get it. Like, I just didn't know I was like, man, this is some weird. But when I got down there, I was like, oh, yeah, I get it now. And there was that, and then the light skin. I went down there, and I was seen as light skin. Like, people were like, oh, well, you mix it. Like, it was always a conversation like, damn, you're different. And I was like, wait, I'm black. Like, I'm not black apparently. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
right.
So, but you come back up here, and that's all you get. You're a monolith. Like, you just
yeah.
Everyone gets thrown into one thing. I'm like, nah, it's not like that. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that's so real. And the monolith part too. Like, we're not all the same. Like, up here, it feels like black people are all the same. You fall in two buckets basically.
Right.
I was just having that conversation, just saying, like, I felt like I didn't get my creative side fed because my identity was tied up in basketball or sports or whatever, being an athlete. And I'm a creative, and I just never really stepped into that until later in my life, So, or at least in terms of my identity, So
right. So this is the worst.
That's real.
This is the worst part of being an empty nester. I have nobody to yell to go get my cord, and my computer is doing something weird and looks like it's
your computer's about to die too. So if she jump off the call, ladies and gentlemen,
I could go back to the office, but I don't know what it looked like if I moved carrying it. So
you're good. So what is it about to die?
It says I have 25%, but it's going real fast because you said I had 2 hours a while ago.
Okay, well, we have to finish this. We got to get further in this conversation. Because we're living on the edge right now. To be
right.
All right. So what was your favorite experience at the HBCU at Wilberforce?
I loved, I remember my first step show. I remember going, so most HBCUs, I have one, they're like you're in close proximity to another. I'm sure that back in the day that was for safety purposes. So Central State University used to be part of Wilberforce, broke off when there was like state funding that went to them because we were a church school. So I remember going over to Central. That was my first time seeing like Battle of the Bands. Best thing ever. Like, you don't even go to football games for football, really. When you go to HBCU, you go for the band. It's for the band, right? And that is just like the best thing ever.
I just saw so Bryce Monroe. He used to play at USD. My boy, for my boy at USD San Diego, and he transferred. And he's at Langton now. Langston. I just commented on his story last night. I was like, "Hey, that shit there is lit." Like, I don't know. I think it was a senior night game or homecoming game. He was hooping.
Yep.
It was after the game. The band was up on the floor. Like, it was a whole big difference than being at University of San Diego. I was like, that is lit. And he was like, it's fun. And I was like, yeah, you made the right, yeah, good for you, man.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's different.
Okay, I'm gonna talk to you and move at the same time.
That's okay.
Because we're not far enough, and I have more things to say. So
it's all good. But yeah, I think that those experiences. How, and so since we can get to this next part, how have those experiences shaped and helped you navigate the white professional world as you graduate, you have your HBCU experience, and then you get back, you're out in the world now again, because you talked about your experience at the high school, Clover Park, Steilacoom, wherever you were at, and now you're starting to navigate the work world. How did that shape your identity? Did it help? Did it hurt?
So I think there was two things that happened. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Two things that happened. One, I was in Ohio and I ended up staying in Ohio. So I had the people, I call it the Harvard effect, right? So if you went to Harvard and the hiring manager went to Harvard, they're like, oh, you get an interview, right? So I'm in Ohio, and I'm going to this prestigious historic school. So I come out in Ohio, and people are like, oh, you went to Wilberforce? Yeah. Oh, did you have so-and-so? Did you have this professor? Did you have... Oh, yeah, you get an interview, right? So my career in Ohio was just dope. I just got lots of opportunities, and I got to do lots of very, very cool things. In Ohio... I would say that the main difference for my experience in Ohio versus, here is Ohio, it felt like everybody was black, white, or both. Everybody was black or white or mixed. There were not other minority groups. And I remember that so distinctly. I remember one of the first times I was on campus. And so there's Wilberforce and Xenia. Xenia is a little country town next to it. Okay. And I'm driving down the street, and the people are changing colors on the street. So, it's all white people walking on the sidewalk, and then all of a sudden, it's all mixed people, and then all of a sudden, it's all black people, and they get progressively darker. And I'm like, oh my God, this is de facto segregation. I'm a political science nerd, right? So I'm like, this is de facto segregation. People actually live in certain parts of town based on how much money they make and what color they are. Yeah. And there was no diversity. So as a young professional in Ohio, there were lots of black professionals who looked out for me, put me in the right rooms. There were a lot of white professionals who were it's kind of a feather in your cap if you mentor and bring up a young black professional, right? So I benefited from both of those things. I mean, I remember, being in meetings, and I kind of you've been in meetings with me. My face betrays me a lot. And I remember this one lady being across the way from me, this Jerry Pegues. She was an older black woman who just kind of took me under her wings. She's like, you can't be looking at people like that in a meeting, So she'd sit across from me, and I'd give a face, and she'd cough or kick and be like, fix your face, So in that way, I think Ohio was a slow integration into being in this very safe place where I could just be authentically me without censoring or having to do a lot of,
Yeah.
You just be me, right? It's and even just being able to do that for 4 years took away all those questions I told you I had in high school about am I really the smartest? Am I really the most talented, or is it just that I'm acceptable?
and then getting to be like, no, actually I'm dope. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
dope. And like, and I think that confidence has served me well of just having that reprieve, just those 4 years of time to really just kind of fall in love with myself and
Mm.
just get very comfortable in the fact that even if I'm not like this or that, I'm very black. I'm very
Mm.
aware of my blackness. I love it. I would not choose anything else for myself. And I just, yeah, it's crazy. And then, 20 years later, I decided to come home. And,
Yeah.
you know,
That's that's no, but I think you're touching on some really important things and things that as I'm going through I'm getting attacked right now on Instagram for a comment that I made that people, on an MC that I actually probably one of my favorite groups, and we just happen to go back and forth online now. Uh, Pooh, shout out to Rapper Big Pooh. We disagree. We disagree on a lot of things, but but we go back and forth and stuff on Twitter now and on IG. I didn't know he was on IG like that. I was like, damn, what's up? Where'd you come from? But he's a Louisville fan. That's why. I was commenting on a coach, basically asking him, trying to rally his kids, and this is Rick Pitino, and he was, he's going in, and he's like, "Who raised you guys? Where were you born?" I was like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa,
right,
whoa! I don't like
right,
the optics of this, and I don't like the way that was said."
right,
And
right,
and everyone on the thing is like, "Oh," and they came back to win the game, and everyone's just like, "Oh, that's how you do it." I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, hold on." I was like, I understand as a coach. I've done this before. I've ripped into my guys a million times. Trust me. I've said probably some crazy stuff, but I would never, ever say anything like that.
right,
Like that's me. That's me. I'm just talking
right,
about me. And I just said, I know y'all love this, but I don't like the optics of here. That's a white supremacist take,
right.
especially when your face is full of Botox, and you up there, the only white man in the room on a team full of black people, and you've made all your money off black bodies, and that's what you're gonna say. Like I just feel like we could be better
Yeah,
in 2025.
yeah,
I know what he's trying to say. I'm not saying that I don't understand. I'm just saying the optics and what I'm seeing and hearing aren't. And so I'm getting like like if I open up my phone right now, there's some bigot in there right now. Like, shut up, you idiot! You're soft. You did it. Just
yeah,
I'm getting it all. And I'm like, yeah,
yeah,
come on, bring it. And so if you see a post from me when my Breakfast Club stuff, I posted that and I had some words in my caption that's kind of talking to those people. And some dude jumped in those comments because he seen
right,
he went to
right,
my page, and he seen, and obviously it hit him some kind of way, so he wanted to jump in my things. I was like, hey man, like I don't know. I just feel like when you hear something and you know who you are and you know what you stand in, like you was just saying,
yeah,
speak on it. Like
yeah,
I'm just speaking on it. If it sounds funny to me, I'm just gonna say it sounds funny to me. Like
right,
and
right,
and people like, oh, he's playing the race card again. I'm like, no, I'm telling you that you don't understand what I'm saying. If I say that's a white supremacist take, it's center whiteness in what he's saying. Like, where were you raised? Where were you raised to put Botox in your face? And you 75, you a grown ass man. Let your wrinkles go, bro. Where were you
yeah,
raised? Like, so
right,
that's how I would come
right,
back at that. Like, don't talk about my parents and how I'm raised, bro. Like
right,
anything, but you can call me any name in the book, but
right,
don't bring up. I'm proud of my family name. I'm proud of where I'm from. I'm proud of, and I know he didn't mean it like that.
right.
I'm not saying, but just like you were saying, it don't matter. Like you still gotta call it out sometimes when you have to.
One
And
100%. And I think like there's just such a difference between culturally like some of those places and like like one of the things like when I first started work right after I graduated, um I'm from here, so I'm casual, right? Like
yeah,
I told my friend earlier today, like, oh, you doing a pod? Because I was like, yeah, I gotta get ready for this podcast, whatever. She was like, oh, I hope you're gonna put on some clothes. She's from Chicago. My roommate, Erin, 33 years later, she's still my bestie, right? She's like, I hope
yeah,
you gonna put some clothes on. I said, girl, I'm about to put on a sweatshirt, and I'm about to do this interview in a sweatshirt. And she was like, Oh God, you know that. But like we've been doing that forever. But I
Yeah.
remember my first, like I basically dressed like the Gap. You know, I had khakis and a button up, and they're like, you have to wear pantyhose and you have to wear,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you got to wear your church clothes. I'm like, I don't go to church. I don't have no
Mm-hmm.
church clothes.
Yeah.
I got some basketball shorts. I got some high tops. I got a sweatshirt.
You
You know
coming
what I
in
mean?
looking like the brat. Looking like
Exactly.
MC Light. Got a what? Got him in a rough
I
neck.
was like, I don't understand. You know what I mean? There's so much about how there's so much about growing up here that I love. Like I
Mm-hmm.
love the informality of things and
Yeah.
like the realness of like things in a certain way.
Yeah.
I also really struggle with some of the like coded language and the people not saying what it is and the like, you know, I met people in Ohio that straight up did not like me because I was too young, I was too black, and I had too much opinion and too much confidence. They
Right.
said it. They said it. They just said it. Like,
Yeah.
you're too much. Here, there might be people who feel the same way about me. They won't
But they
say
won't
it.
say it. Yeah, they won't say
And
it
and
though.
that's weird. I'm also no longer the youngest, so you know,
Yeah, that
and I don't really know what that happened, but I went from being like always the youngest kid in the room
hey, it
to
happens
now.
fast too. I'm like, man, I'm looking around like, oh, I'm supposed to. You looking around? Hey, who got the answer? They're like, hey, they looking at you. Like you the OG. Like, oh damn.
Yeah,
When
yeah,
they start calling
it's
you
crazy.
OG,
Yeah, it's crazy, but yeah, like you said, it's really so much of that, and I mean there was school, and then the people that I met there, and like just like that thing about the variety, the diaspora of blackness,
mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
like I couldn't have learned it anywhere else.
Right.
You know, I don't think I would have learned it if I hadn't chose a HBCU, and I don't think I would have the respect that I have for the black experience that I have, and
Interesting.
it's like I know doctors and lawyers and engineers and and some of them grew up just like me. Grew up in a two
Mm-hmm.
family household out in the suburbs. Like my dad was retired military, my mom's a school teacher. You know, it wasn't perfect, but I never have ever worried about where I'm sitting in the house I grew up in. I
Yeah.
inherited the house I grew up in, and I have friends who are lawyers and doctors, and they're the first person in their family ever to buy a
Mm.
home. They're the first person in their family ever to go to college and
Mm.
have built whole practices. You know what I mean?
Mm. Come on.
There was a girl on my floor my freshman year who basically came out of homelessness to
Damn.
come to college, and she would be in there studying her ass
Mm-hmm.
off. She'd have flashcards and she'd be like, "Hey, what are you doing? Can you come down and help me study?" And I'm down there helping her study. I'm not studying. I don't know how to study. I never studied, right? But like, I'm seeing this like, so this idea of like, am I really the smartest? It's like, I'm smart in the way that I'm smart,
mm.
and she's
Mm.
smart in the way that she's smart.
Come
And,
on.
and where I can read it once and remember it and memorize the page and whatever, she got a level of perseverance I don't know.
Right. Yep.
And so she's not always gonna say the shit right. And
Yep.
she from Brooklyn, so she gonna pop off
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in a different way. Like I know how to work a system. I know how to write a letter and complain and you know whatever.
Right.
And she know how to let you know if you want to get choked out, you're gonna keep talking to me, right? But now it's like I'm a professional and I've you know amassed a certain amount of success, and she's an OBGYN who has her own practice.
Right.
And at 20 years old, I'm pregnant for the first time, and she is just amazed at my belly and just at every part of my pregnancy. Just like one day I'm gonna be a doctor. I'm gonna be a doctor. I'm gonna be a doctor.
Ooh, that's
You know
right.
what I
I
mean?
love that.
At
Yeah.
33 years later, she's a doctor, and
I
she's
love
still
that.
one of my people. You know what I mean? And so, I would say the thing that's, I don't know if it's different. What I have experienced differently than my friends who did not go to HBCUs is like every March, the last weekend of March, the dawn dance. Where there's like there's homecoming, which is for kids that are in school. Some colleges like Howard, their homecoming's a big deal. All their alumni come back for it. Wilberforce has dawn dance, right? So dawn dance is alumni weekend. It's a big deal. I would say most people try to come back for dawn dance. And dawn dance, like, as Black people, we don't really have like, we have our family traditions, but we don't have like that deep culture of like, I come from this tribe, I do this thing, right? So what you get at HBCU is you get like a supplementation of that, right? So dawn dance is, so I told you, Wilberforce is at the end of the Underground Railroad. Yeah. So dawn dance is the last weekend of March, usually right before Easter. The dance starts at midnight on Friday. It goes all night, and then you have breakfast in the morning.
That sounds fire.
Right. So the symbolism of it is being in Underground Railroad, coming up in the morning, and you're free. So the party is Friday night. You go all night, have breakfast in the morning, followed by a prayer service. Then you have your step show. You have your, mixers. Like all the parties happen after that. But you start the weekend.
Wait, so y'all, I'm just gonna go ahead and tell on myself here, but being old, that sounds like that's gonna mess up my sleep schedule for about the next 2 weeks.
It's worth it.
Easy.
It's worth it. People literally get off work because most people are from around there. They're from Cleveland or Michigan or DC. They literally go to work and drive in, and then we. Oh yeah,
if I was on that side, that's easy.
It's like, so I go almost every year. Me and my cousin who also went to Wilberforce with me. We fly to Cleveland, pick up Aaron. We drive down, the 4 hours to Wilberforce. We go to the parties. We do the whole weekend. You take Tuesday and Wednesday off. You fly back on Monday, take Tuesday, Wednesday off, drag for the rest of the week. But it's everything. It's like a reset. It's like Cheers on steroids. It's like you go and like people. There's like jokes if you like are in any of the HBCU groups or like any like Black groups. It'll be like, why don't people take their home, their spouse to homecoming? It's like, because it's not for that. And it's like, it's a weird, so my ex-husband, he went to Central. So we could do it because we both had our, once you graduate, the schools kind of merge. Everybody's the same. So it's people from Central and Wilberforce at both events. But you have to have been there to really understand. There's going to be tons of hugging and tons of like, girl, you look good. Like, there's going to be lots of that. And it's not because people, there are people trying to get with people, but that's not the point. The point is really like going back home. Yeah. It's home. You know what I mean? Fine. It's home. And it's like, I love those people. And like, I've been graduated 33 years. I still do I do contract work with people I went to Wilberforce with. They're like, I need a facilitator. Tanisha, can you do it? Yeah, sure, I got you. Hey, I need help with this grant. Send it my way. I got you. You know what I mean? Yeah. I need someone to serve on my board of directors. Boop, sign me up. Like but it's all across the country.
That's fire.
Because we all have the same home.
I don't have that. I went to Central. TCC. You have obviously Pride and whatever, but I never. Since I went to TCC, I went to Central after that. I don't ever go back. Like, if I do, I'm just sliding through and be like, I used to love it here, yada, yada, yada. But I don't participate in any of that because I didn't, why? Like, it wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, I just didn't have that connection. Yeah. And I also didn't go there for 4 years. I only went for 2, but still, I didn't have a connection like that. I got more of a connection with TCC than I do with Central. Yeah. I just didn't Yeah.
My oldest went to Kentucky, University of Kentucky, and that school's got a ton of pride and go Blues everywhere, and she's never even she's seen me go back to mine every single year, and
Yeah.
she's just like, "Why would I go back to Kentucky?
Right.
I'm not
It's
doing
not
that.
for it because it's not for you.
It's not for it.
Like
It's
that.
not. Yeah, and it when you go and everything on that campus is for you.
Yeah. That's
You know what
gotta
I
be a
mean?
good feeling. I wish I had that.
It's beautiful, and it's like, after COVID, like, so we didn't go for the years of COVID, and so
Mm-hmm.
then after that, after the first dawn dance, after like all the COVID stuff was lifted, it was like, I mean, people were hugging and crying and like, oh my God, so good to see you. And like,
Yeah, that's dope.
we lost some people in COVID. And so there was like the crying in memory of them and stuff like that. But it was just like, I needed this. I needed this
Yeah, that's
reset. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's
that
nothing like
sounds
it.
like well, this sounds like a big this is brought to you by Wilberforce. And this is a paid promotion for like we just gonna go ahead and put Wilberforce on the map on this whole podcast. Like if you want to know about Wilberforce, go ahead and listen to this podcast. Wilberforce,
Right.
shout out to Wilberforce, man. Like we
Yeah.
finna put on for them. But we're gonna wrap up here soon. But I just love hearing about like that was a good way to wrap up like what you're talking about is the feeling of coming back and have it being like home because I never had that experience with any school for that matter. I still go back and do that, but like that's why I go back to Foss, for
Right.
example. That's
Right.
the only place in my whole uh, career, and I love Stadium and I love the places that I've been at in Mill Creek and all these other schools. I still have a lot of pride, and don't get me wrong, like,
Right.
but in terms of home, like Foss just feels that way for me
Yeah.
personally, just me,
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
and that's why I keep going back.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go back if it didn't feel like home. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
So that's I understand what you're saying, but also not to the extent because of all of the people that you can congregate with and all
Yeah.
of that. So that just sounds super dope, like what you just explained to me.
Yeah.
I was,
If
man.
if you went on my friends list, I think I have a couple of thousand, 1,300. I would say 800 of those are Wilberforce,
Damn, that's
because it's
crazy.
just like if you were there in any of the 4.5 years I was there, even if you were a freshman coming in, I never talked to you. When we get out in the world, like there's a young lady named Katie who's actually doing some work in Tacoma around Reinvestment Act and stuff because she works
Mhm.
for a nonprofit in DC. We were in. I was leaving when she was coming, but
Yeah,
then when we got out in the world, she was like, "Do you remember me? I'm Katie. I'm AK down at Wilberforce." I'm like, "Oh, I do remember you."
yeah,
And then it's like you wouldn't know that we didn't know each other in college. And when we tell people, "Oh, we went to college together," people are like, "Oh, you guys were friends in college." No, we were friends 7 years after we graduated. But that
yeah.
connection of that place and the people, the adults
That's
in that
fire.
space who just loved us and took care of us, like I got so many stories about them just like popping up on you like, "Where your clothes at?" You got your, you know what I
I
mean?
love it.
So yeah, it's nothing like it, man. It's
I
good.
love it. All right. Well, thank you for that insight on HBCU. This has been really dope and really insightful for me, at least. I hope it was for anyone that's listening. I have one more last section. It's
Okay.
called Hot Take. Are
All
you
right.
ready?
Yep.
And it's just a either or there's one I think that's gonna be just an answer, but
Okay.
it's an either or thing. You just pick one or the other. All right.
Okay.
Ready?
All right. Yep.
All right. Living in the future or in the past?
Future.
Like that. Work from home or the office?
Ooh. Home.
Favorite black saying? This is the only one that's not an either or.
I love motherfucker. I love that word, man.
That's funny. All right. Would you rather live to 150 or get $1 million right now in cash and do whatever you want with it?
I take the million.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This is a big one. A Different World or Cosby Show?
I'm gonna go with A Different World,
Yeah,
but
same.
Cosby was good, but
Cosby broke a lot of it. Broke. I mean, not that. I mean, some people be like, you can't talk about Bill Cosby. I mean, I get it. Yeah, he's a piece. He's definitely
yeah,
not.
he's terrible
not
human
him.
now, but
Terrible piece. Terrible dude. But like, that show did so much for me.
yeah,
Growing up in Gig Harbor as a
yeah,
lone black kid out there.
yeah.
Like I used to wait for that show, and then I saw A Different World, and my head just exploded. I was like, "No way, this is a whole thing." Like,
When I saw it, because I remember being a junior in the episode where Denise was going to college. Like it was the Bill Cosby episode. Denise was leaving for college. It's the first time I saw my mom cry, and I wasn't a mom yet, so I didn't understand. Like, why are you crying?
Yeah.
Like you don't even. Like, you don't cry at nothing. What are you crying about? But I know she was realizing, oh shit, we're going to be here real soon. And then, so I had a year of that show before I went to college. And I just remember being like, is it really? It can't be like this. It cannot be like this. And I mean, I've only had, before I went to Wilberforce, I only had one black teacher my whole life.
That's
a gym
why
teacher.
I became a teacher. Because
Right.
I didn't have any.
Yeah, I had one who was my gym teacher. Shout out to Mr. Hayes. Anybody knows Bruce Hayes?
Yep.
Dopest man
Hayes.
ever.
I know Hayes.
That was my teacher. He was my teacher from 6th grade to 8th grade. He
The
was
fact
my
that
teacher.
I know him because he was at every basketball camp that I ever went to.
Yep.
Like, and I looked up to him because I did not see a lot of him out there. He's a pioneer in this area.
He was my pioneer at Pioneer, and I had him from 6th to 8th grade, and then he followed me till I graduated from Stillicum.
Yep.
He checked in on me. He came to my basketball games.
I
He
love that.
was
That's
always
so crazy.
around.
I heard
And
that name in forever.
his mom lived around the corner. He grew up in Stillicum too, right? So his mom lived around the corner. So I would drive over there. I'd be driving. He'd stop my car, like, where you going? Don't be messing with these little boys. You know what I mean? Just on me all the time.
Yeah.
And the best part of me coming back here, so do you know Rooster Barth too?
Yep.
Gary Rooster Barth?
Yep.
So Gary Rooster Barth
Legend.
is why I'm a political science major. He's why I
Yeah.
love government. He is like my all-time favorite teacher. So
Yeah.
when I moved back here in 2015, I looked because there's that thing of not wanting to come back home, like because I was trying to find somewhere else to live. I had a house because my dad passed away, and so I had a house I could live in. I was trying, just being stubborn. Eventually, fate would have it. This is the best option for me, so I come back to this house. I enroll my kids in Stillicum, and Amir had Mr. Hayes, and Ahmad had Mr. Roosterbarth, and I was just like, all right, shit comes full circle.
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
That's
so,
fire.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Hey, the educators, shout out to all the educators. Y'all make such a big difference in kids' lives. Like, you have no idea after the fact. It's I mean, you're sitting here, like those two men, you're sitting here talking about them on a podcast. Like, the fact that their name carries that far, and then me as the other person being like, yeah, I had him for whatever. Like, on a live public podcast, like, I'm not saying that this is like a million people watching or nothing.
Right.
When your name rings through the community and through the air like that, that's so powerful.
Yeah.
So
100%. There's not a black kid that went to Stillicum after 6th grade who doesn't have a Bruce Hayes story.
Yeah. No, I definitely do. He had them short shorts on. He was
I was about to
defense
say,
to us. I was just like, okay, this brother again. Like, he's mean. Like, he's about to get in our ass. Like, I already knew.
Some of my best
Pause.
lessons in life were from Bruce Hayes. Like, I tell people all the time, like, if you got beef with more than a couple people in the room, it's probably not them, it's you. That was Mr. Hayes, 6th grade camp. Write down who you want to be in a cabin with. If you got more than 2 people you can't be in a cabin with, then you might need to go take a walk.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that's funny. Well, I gotta get to I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get a text here from my son to pick him up from the
Yep.
States with me. But thank you for coming on. This has been really fun. And like
Yeah.
if people want to get in touch with you or ask you about Wilberforce, how do they get in contact with you if you want to share?
Yeah, you can reach out. I am on Instagram. I think that's no, it doesn't have all the privacy settings. And you can also reach out. I'm on Threads as well, and my
Yeah.
handle's always just Tanisha Jumper or Tani B. So, yeah,
Yeah.
just hit
All
me
right,
up.
cool.
All right.
Well, thank you. This is the first Black History Month reflection series of this year. So thank you so much. Last year I had Tafana and Ivan. Year before that, I forget who else I had. But yeah, this year there's gonna be some. We have two more, and they're gonna be dope. Oh, last year I had Eubanks too.
Okay.
We've had some. I've had Daryl Cruz on here. I've had some really interesting. Like if you go back and you just do a black, if you go on the podcast and do a Black History Month reflection series search,
Yeah.
they will all pop up. Like
Okay.
yeah, there's some interesting combos. So like this is going to be one of those. So thank you HBCUs. I actually did talk about HBCUs with Kate Hunter. This is
Okay.
an interesting one because she went to Jackson State as a white woman, and so we talked
Oh.
about
Yeah.
going to a HBCU as a white woman.
Yeah.
And she's funny. It was a really really good episode. So thank you again for joining, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is today's Black History Month reflection series. Hopefully you got something out of that. Hit up Tanisha if you want to know a little bit more about Wilberforce. Shout out to Wilberforce for this paid promotional. This was not paid promotion by Wilberforce. This is just happened to be that way. And yeah, with that, be good. Peace.
See ya.
Yeah, thank you. I got that one. All right. I was looking at the time like, man, I think Tay is probably gonna